Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Chicago Soccer Talk with Collin. I am in a good mood, work's been going well, have a day off, so I'm very excited to record for this week's episode. It's been a little bit since we've done a episode for the show, but there hasn't been a lot of news on the Chicago Fire front or the Red Stars, especially the Red Stars. And this episode is mainly going to focus on the Chicago Fire. We don't have any new Chicago Red Stars news to go over. The season's starting soon. That's really the only news that has been released. The Red Stars schedule has been released for home and road matches, and roster is still getting a little bit tinkered with. It's going to be released soon what the roster is going to look like. But for this episode, I'm going to focus on the Chicago Fire. And in the future, we will have ones like that for sure. Episodes where it's mainly the Fire and then mainly the Red Stars. It just depends on news, and especially when both seasons start matches. I can talk about that more in depth, how the teams looked. That's going to be really fun. I'm excited for both seasons to begin, but it's still off season in both respective leagues. So for the Chicago Fire, we have a little bit of news, some exciting news, some just interesting news, and I'm excited about that. I have three main topics I'm going to go over. One was an interview, one was a release of a new jersey for the club, and then the last one's MLS as a whole and playoffs being tinkered with. So that's the main three topics I have for this week. So first we'll start with the MLS Playoffs has been changed. It's been changed a lot. They do a lot of tinkering, fixing of the playoffs. Some of it has to do with elimination, one-game matches, best of three, how many teams make the playoffs. The MLS is one of the leagues that by far has probably done the most changing of the playoff format system compared to other leagues in the United States. And this one's interesting. So last season they had a best of eight. 8 teams made it. So 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, 8 in the West, and it was mostly single elimination. And I think that was good. I liked the single elimination format. And it was also helpful because mostly the teams that, let's face it, stink. So the 8th seeds would easily get dispatched by the higher seeds. The 1 seed, for example, they would get a bye. And it was pretty clear cut. I liked how that worked. The higher seeds would majority advance. The lower seeds, mainly the 4-5 matchup, that's the most likely, could get an upset, but mostly the better teams win. Which is a fan and is a league-wide, that's the format people are looking for. That's the result. Because I know some people love the Cinderella story, but in different leagues that works, but in MLS, not particularly. Because, like, for example, let's say a Cinderella team wins a first round matchup, most likely to get easily destroyed in the next round, depending on how the team's roster is and was it luck or did they really catch fire in a bottle and the team could advance to the next round depending on what's going on. So the MLS has changed it now. It's a 9-team conference going in. So 9 in the West, 9 in the East, 18 teams total. And they have changed it a little bit more. So in the first round, before they get to the first round, there is a 8th, 9 seed, 1-game matchup. So let's say the 8th seed wins, they make it, 9th make it. Then they face off against the first seed in the conference. And that one's a best of 3. They focus on that. And 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. So best of 3. Then once that round's over, it goes back to single elimination. So the semifinal, conference final, and then the final are all single elimination. And I think a lot of it has to do with, they've actually mentioned it in The Athletic, for example, where I found out about the changes in the playoff system. Some of it has to do with finances, fans getting to watch more playoff matches, and the new Apple TV streaming rights. They did mention that it was decided by the league before they had the new deal with Apple TV, but I think it helped Apple TV in streaming rights and finances, advertising. We'll see how it works out. I don't mind the change to this new 9-team league format. I'm kind of a fan of single elimination more in MLS especially, because some of the teams aren't that great that make sneak into the playoffs, like the 8th, 9th, 7th. So it's easier for them to get dispatched, in my opinion. One match, gone. Not multiple matches. I'd rather these go home fast. And in MLS, it gets more exciting the farther it goes on. So the better teams facing off, that's more exciting than the way better team destroying the low seed. So that's the new MLS playoff changes. Next, I'll move on to the next topic I have. And this is an interesting one. The Fire released a brand new kit for the season. And I like this one, actually. Because I know they've made a few changes. First, when the Chicago Fire had their old original jerseys, which I enjoyed, they changed it, updated it to what was it, the purplish bluish one. Hated it. Disgusting. It was abysmal. I don't know what intern was given the idea, put in charge of creating the jersey, but it was ugly. So I was glad when the season ended, they immediately got rid of that and changed to the new jersey logo, which I have it right here, this one in the middle. And I like that way better. And they decided to release a new kit, which features the new logo front and center, so in the middle of the jersey. And the jersey is white with fire red and navy blue trims on the sides, sleeves, and the bottom. So it has the logo in the middle, white jersey, and then the red and navy blue on the side and the bottom. So I think it looks good. It looks clear cut. It looks pretty slick. And they did a review because all the teams released a new jersey, and an article ranked them all, so all 29 clubs. And the Fire were in the middle, like 10th. So not bad in my opinion. I think they did a good job with the new secondary kit. It looks good. Not too, you're looking at a million different things, not too much on it. It's pretty basic, just with the logo, the white background, and red and blue trim. And I think it's good. I like that they chose white. I don't mind that, in my opinion. It was a good idea. And I have not bought it yet. I was considering buying it because I think it looks pretty good. One of my friends, Frankie, he actually bought it, so he already has the secondary kit. He got it yesterday, and he said he's definitely going to wear it when we go to the March 4th home opener against New York City FC. I'm really excited for that match because I talked about it last episode. We're still going to be going. We're just figuring out the ticket situation and transportation situation, but we're all very excited to be going to that match and definitely want to see what the jersey looks like in person. I think it's going to look good, and I'm glad they chose this one. I give it a solid B plus rating in my opinion. Good job by the Fire people who created this one. And that's it for those two topics. We have one left, and I don't have a lot to talk about this week. There wasn't huge roster moves or debates, things to talk about, or things I was angry with. Mainly just what I talked about, the playoff changes, New Jersey. I have one left, which is an interview. There's a show I like, a podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, more places as well. It's called the Intercontinental Podcast, and it stars Tyler Terens, and used to star one of the best commentators. He was in the Premier League on NBC. There was Arlo White. He was very good. He's British from UK. He did an excellent job with his commentary. He was one of my favorites, but he left. Now he's in golf. So he's not doing soccer or football anymore. He's gone. So he left the Intercontinental Podcast. So now it's just Tyler Terens, not Arlo White anymore. And in case you don't know the name Tyler Terens, he was the broadcaster for the Chicago Fire on WGN. And he was one of my favorite broadcasters. He brought brevity, excitement to the match. He did a great job, and he had a lot of good comments about the team and good job with play-by-play. His teammate was Mueller. He was also one of my favorites. But don't worry, he's now on Apple TV streaming as a color commentator, so you can still hear him for the matches that he does, which I'm very excited about that. That was a great move by MLS to get him in that new streaming area. So back to Tyler Terens. He's the host of the Intercontinental podcast, and he always does a good job with interviews, new information about the Fire, articles, talking about giving his opinion. And he had an interview with Mueller, who is a member of the Chicago Fire. He's from Schaumburg, actually. He's a hometown, local lad. And I think that Tyler Terens did a good job with the interview. Short 20-minute interview, but he asked questions to Chris about how's the preseason looking? Is he excited to be the season coming? What position do you think he's best at for the new squad? How is he changing his skill or routine to prepare for this season compared to ones in the past? He asked him who are some of his favorite players of all time. Is there a specific player that he modeled his game after growing up that he thinks that skill-wise and how he looks on the pitch, was that someone who he tried to become just like? And he answered that pretty well, just saying that not specifically was there a player that he tried to model his game after. He had some players that he enjoyed watching growing up and he really was a huge fan of. So he did take that from their example, but he didn't say that he had a specific player. He's like, I need to be the next Ronaldo, Messi, the next player like that. No, he just said that they're players that he took bits and pieces from that he thought would help his game. And he's really excited that he's on the Chicago Fire first team. And I like Mueller. We got him recently last season. He's been a recent addition to the club. And he's not like fantastic. He's not a superstar, but he can help the squad in a variety of different ways as a striker. And I think that it's good to have depth. And Mueller, he is a good addition. He can either spot start or come off the bench if needed. And I'm looking forward to the season. It's only like 10 days away. Wow, is time flying. I didn't realize it was this fast. I know a couple weeks ago I talked about going to the match, but now it's already here. The season's going to start. No more preseason. Can't wait to go to the first match of the year. And I've become a big Chicago Fire fan. That's one reason I started this YouTube show, but it was May 2021 when I went to my first match against the Philadelphia Union with my family. We had a great time. Then we went to the October match, was the last home match of the year against Real Salt Lake. And after that, I was like, I want to go to more games. I really enjoyed it. Great time, affordable, fun, great atmosphere at Soldier Field. And since then, I've been going to a lot of different matches. And I kind of thought to end this episode, why not talk about the ones I've been to, just go after them in a fast pace, just talk about the matches I've seen. So first one was against Philadelphia Union in May 2021, October 2021 against Real Salt Lake. Then last year in 2022, the matches I went to was the home opener against Orlando City. Then I went to the Lamar Hunt League Tournament match against, it always escapes me, but I don't remember if it's FC Omaha or Omaha SC or SC Omaha. I don't remember. I apologize. They're in a lower league than the Fire, but I saw that match. We lost, of course. Then I saw the match against FC Cincinnati. And then finally, last one was against the Philadelphia Union again. So that's the matches I've seen for the Fire so far, and I'm excited for this one. So that concludes this week's episode of Chicago Soccer Talk with Collin. I think the name is good for now, and I've really enjoyed getting to talk with fans and people giving me their comments and opinions on the show. Got great feedback. Appreciate it, and appreciate people tuning into the show, and I really appreciate that. It's for fun. It's not a money-making scheme or anything like that. It's just for fun. I enjoy talking about the Chicago Fire and Chicago Red Stars, and I can't wait to continue releasing more episodes after we get more news. I think the next one, I'll wait until I go to the match, because then I can talk about the match and how it was going to the home opener, whereas trying to hobble together a few news stories that aren't as exciting. So I'll wait for that. See you next time on Chicago Soccer with Collin. Peace out. Have a good rest of your week.